Hey everyone, my name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at some Choosing Beggar stories, so sit back, relax and enjoy. Coworker goes from entitled to choosing beggar. I have an entitled coworker who recently went full choosy beggar on me. I'm a contract worker at a rather large corporate office. A few months ago, a woman was contracted to another department on the same floor, and quickly realized that there are free catered lunches almost every day for individual meetings. She started off just picking through the leftovers that were usually brought to the break room for everyone to enjoy, but after a while she started going into the meetings themselves and making a plate before they were over. I am not sure how she was getting away with this. My department was having their yearly planning meeting and had split into workshops before lunch. I was setting up for lunch. The food had not come yet when she peeked into the meeting room. I noticed her watching me and the convo went something like this. "Hi, can I help you? Is there a meeting in here? Yes, but I think some other meeting rooms are open down the hall. Oh, no, I was just curious. So, what are you guys having for lunch? I'm not sure. Mexican, I think. Mexican from where? I don't know, they just mentioned Mexican. She then lets out this annoyed sigh and moves closer to the table, where I had plasticware, sodas, and ice laid out. What time is lunch? Lunch is right now on the schedule, but I am not sure when it will actually be here because the meeting has been running behind. Cue another annoyed sigh. Well, can I have a soda now? Sorry, this is for those attending the meeting. After they have eaten, we will put everything upstairs. You are welcome to whatever is left. I'd rather get my plate before everyone else starts, since I'm asking now. I guess you can come back when we are done at 2 before I take it upstairs. Fine, I'll be back then. She then walks out. A few minutes later, the department members return. We all kind of sit and talk waiting for the food. A few minutes go by. The entitled woman comes in and grabs a seat right next to the food table. My boss, who doesn't take any stick, approached her and asked her if she was here for the meeting. She lies and tells my boss that I told her she could come back in a few minutes when lunch arrived. I quickly informed both of them that I told her to come after the meeting was over. My boss tells her that she is welcome to whatever is left in the break room after the meeting. The entitled woman asks why she couldn't just have lunch with them. This visibly ticked my boss off. She firmly told her that this was a closed meeting and that she would have to wait until the leftovers were in the kitchen. She scurried off, the food came, we ate, and I assumed this was the end of this. Of course not. After lunch was over, I packed up the considerable amount of leftovers and took them upstairs. Guess who was literally waiting for me in the break area? As soon as I walked into the kitchen, she started unwrapping food and making her plate, barely allowing me to move the food to the table. Are there any Cokes left? Only diet. Where is this even from? She is kind of picking through the food she just piled on her plate, taking small, hesitant bites like she thought it was poisoned. It's the nearby Mexican restaurant. Ew, really? That place is terrible. Why didn't they go to the other nearby Mexican restaurant? No clue, I didn't get to pick. If I knew it was this place, then I wouldn't have waited around. She then takes a few more small bites before tossing her massive plate into the trash and walking away. I could have launched a Diet Coke at her head, but I like my job. So I told my boss what happened, and she said she was going to speak to the head of entitled woman's department about her behavior. Oh, update. So my boss did tell her boss and they both sat down with her to talk about her behavior. My boss wouldn't give me all the details, but she implied that this woman acted like she didn't understand why what she did was inappropriate. She said that at her last job this was acceptable because everyone was welcome to any food ordered to the office. I severely doubt this. She was told not to disrupt any meeting she was not directly attending and can only take food after the meeting was over. Does that woman not have any work to attend to? She sounds like she's been waiting in the break room for a while. Free trip to Cali during Christmas not good enough? Several years ago, during the holidays, my family was discussing where we would all meet to celebrate. Some were in Maine, Massachusetts, California, Florida, and Texas. Most could afford to travel. However, 2 couldn't because of having 3 kids each. Amongst those who could travel, we all decided to go to Cali because that sister had never hosted Christmas, and her kids were still infants. In this time, I just got back from a deployment to Iraq and saved up quite a bit of capital. I missed my whole family, and the thought of excluding someone because she couldn't afford it and no one else could help felt too selfish, greedy, or uncaring. The choosing beggar sister was certainly rubbing it in how much family means to her, and how everyone should travel to her. Sob sob. She just wanted the whole family together. Everyone was upset we couldn't though. Thinking I was going to solve the whole argument, I offered to fly her entire family to Cali for free. I'd like to say, going with the typical choosing beggar fashion, that she refused to travel unless it was first class, but it turns out she didn't really care. She just wanted everyone to travel to her because she didn't want to travel herself. $2,000 and a week later, all she talked about was how difficult the whole thing was for her and how everyone should have traveled to her. No gratitude, no thanking me, and I didn't even ask her to pay me back. Wow, that would be the last time I ever lent money to that person. Karen tries to take my seat. I fly somewhat often for work, sometimes a few times a month. I'm usually heading to New York City and usually flying Delta. My company has a promotion with Delta where we can get status fairly quickly as a perk for joining the company. So I go from nothing to silver and finally gold pretty quickly. My flight home out of LGA gets delayed, mostly because every flight leaving LGA gets delayed. So I hear the announcement that they're likely not going to have a crew to man the flight until 9 PM. It's about 6, so I head off to find some bad airport food. Then, just as my food is arriving, I catch an announcement for final boarding for my flight. Great, I abandoned my table, paid for dinner, hadn't received it yet, and yeet off to the gate. Turns out I'm not the only one who was confused, but they get us on a bus to take us out to the plane. So with my status, I often get free upgrades, which is cool as heck. And on this flight, I got what I refer to as first class, the little single seat in the very front of first class, good old 1A. So I board and there's a woman in my seat, glass of wine in hand. I think you're in my seat. My boarding pass says 1A. Whoops, you weren't here. You can have my seat. I knew how this was going to go. No worries, which of the other first class seats is yours? Oh, it's not. I was in 22B. So on these little regional jets, 22B is usually in the aisle and in the very back, right next to the restroom. Ah, okay, I'm gonna want my seat back then. I'm already buckled in. It's a short flight. Be a dear. She doesn't know I got the upgrade for free, and that's besides the point. Sorry, no, I'd like my seat. Don't be annoying, or something like that, I can't remember. I'm not moving. Just take the free drink and head back to your seat. You're holding up everyone else boarding. Just take the seat in the back. You're holding up everyone else boarding. I tell the flight attendant. He just sighs like he deals with this all the time and then tells her to move to her assigned seat or they'll have to remove her from the plane. So she moves while grumbling the whole time and I settle in and have a vodka cran. I see this often enough with other people being picky about seats that aren't theirs, but a first for me personally. I've never understood like free upgrades on planes. If someone offered me a free upgrade, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, sure. But I don't think I'd ever ask for one no matter what. Like, I paid for this seat, I get this seat. Isn't that how it works? Roommate brings home coworker. She wears out her welcome quick. R1 is the roommate who brought her home, who I'll call Robert. R2 is the stoic roommate who is really chill and not much bothers him, who I'll call Ron. CB is the girl Robert worked with, 1 year younger than him and the same age as me. So Robert brings home the choosing beggar because her parents couldn't pick her up from work for a good few hours, and she lives super far away. Robert offers our couch to her. We all talk for a bit, Robert gives her some sweatpants and a t-shirt, and she spends the night on our couch without incident. Robert goes out of town, and choosing beggar messages me asking if she could stay over. I told her she could, and then she asked me to pick her up. Reluctantly, I did. Once we got back inside, she insisted we stop at Walgreens to get blunt wraps. She asked me for money, and this was the first red flag. I tried to ask her, why did you have me stop if you don't have money? And then she said, I thought you were buying them for me. I'm a girl after all. I thought this was weird because we weren't dating or even hooking up. I let her raid my car change dish and she got her wraps. She then demanded that I take her to go get the green plant. I tried to explain to her that the only stuff I allowed in my car was nicotine, since the car is still in my father's name. We were back at the apartment and she kept trying to beg me to go take her to get the stuff. I told her again no, and she says, if you won't drive me, then what are you doing for me? Ron and I burst into laughter, and this was probably the funniest thing we've heard in a while. Mind you, she's sitting on my couch wearing my shirt, and she raided our fridge, and helped herself to our mac and cheese. Eventually, her dealer agrees to deliver, and she rolls herself a blunt. I didn't want to smoke because I quit for work, 8 months clean now, and my roommate didn't like smoking. Then she looks at Ron and says, please take a hit for me. I swear, I had a six-pack from laughing afterwards. She smokes most of it and leaves the rest for the morning. I asked her what time she was leaving the next morning, and she said 10. I told her to just leave my shirt on my bed, as I had to leave for work at 9. I go to work and come home at around 4, and guess who is still sitting on my couch, in my shirt? She still hadn't left. Turns out she lied and had the night shift at work. According to my roommate, while she was there, she opened 6 boxes of cereal and finished 2. She's 5'2" and 120 pounds. Where did it go? And made a box of macaroni. I look over to my house change dish, and it's empty. She asks me for a ride to work, and I agree. Anything to get her out of my apartment. I drive her to work, and she wants me to stop so she can get chips. I say, I thought you already spent the last of your money, and she pulls out the change from my change dish. Needless to say, after I dropped her off, I never spoke to her again. She asked a few times to stay over and told me, you owe me it. You have a house out here and I don't. I tell her that if she shows up, I'm calling the cops. She left us alone after that. If I didn't know the person and it was my roommate who let them in, I'd have just been like, no, you can't stay any longer, get out. I don't know you. Wow, those two videos right there look really good. I'm gonna have to click at least one of them. Right, guys? Click one of them. Watch more videos.